When you're ready.
Am I just jumping in?
Yes, jump on in. Yeah.
Okay.
It's you, all you.
Hi, guys. I am Shakti. First of all, thanks so much for having me on, Lauren. I really appreciate the invitation. It was very surprising. And as I was sharing with Lauren before we started, I actually had this written down as one of my goals, and it happened ridiculously fast compared to how I thought it was going to happen. So I'm hitting a little bit of an upper limit with that right now, and also just appreciating the experience. So that's where I am. Thanks for the invitation. So my name is Shakti. I've been a coach for 7 months. A little bit of my background. I was actually invited to coaching over 2 years ago, and I was adamantly declined the invitation, as many of us often do. Not the right time or the right place. I had just moved to Atlanta, and I felt I was still trying to find myself, and that was not where I was trying to find myself. I wasn't yet on that journey. I was a massage therapist. I was looking for employment here. I had just moved here to be closer to my partner, and it just didn't vibe with me at the time. Fast forward to 2 years of watching my sponsor, Anne, and her story, and knowing that it was kind of triggered by watching me previously on my paleo journey. We sort of kind of influenced each other. I had a son this past November, December, not November, getting ahead of myself, December. And my pregnancy was awesome. My delivery was awesome. But unfortunately, my postpartum period was really difficult. I had a lot of postpartum anxiety and depression. I had a very hard time losing my baby weight. It didn't just fall off, even though I was nursing. My nursing experience was horrific, painful, a lot of just difficulty, and a lot of me isolating and kind of constantly crying it out. Like, I don't remember feeling a lot of joy the first few months after I had my son, which is really hard to admit now. And I feel like they were a blur. And by the time that my maternity leave was coming to an end, was all of my money, and I realized that I was in a very familiar place that a lot of people find themselves. You can't afford not to work because you need the income, but you also can't afford to put a kid in childcare because you can't afford to put a kid in childcare, So I was like, what do I do? I'm cornered, basically. And I reached out to Anne, and I was like, you know what? I feel awful. It was a sheer desperation move. I'm like, my body feels awful. I feel awful. I need purpose, and I need to stay home with my kid. And so I said yes, and I just jumped right in. I got PIO because I'm a yoga instructor. It was my background. It was familiar. I ordered it, and before I even received the product, I was on bod, like doing my workout and posting about it. I didn't even have an open for business. I was like, hey, y'all, I can help you, like day one. I jumped right in, and I was so committed to making this work right out of the gate because I needed it to work. I didn't have the luxury of it not working, honestly. And it was a very intuitive pull for me to jump in and say yes. I felt very called to it. I kept thinking about it. And so I trusted that. I trusted my gut instinct, and I just said yes to the opportunity. And I ran out of the gate with so much enthusiasm that it was really contagious. And my first 3 months, I had a boom in my business, and I was hitting Success Club. I earned my free ticket to Summit those first 3 months. I was doing really well, and I loved the training, and I was really engaged. And then I had the moment, the defining moment that I think so many coaches have, that completely changed the trajectory of my business. And I now accredit to being a highlight in my business, even though at the time it was like awful for me. I was doing really well in my first 3 months, and then like June, July, and August, my business was dead. What I mean by that was not hitting Success Club, not hitting any goals, talking to people like crazy. I was messaging, over 100 people in the month. It was insane how many messages I was sending and ads I was doing. I was working frantically, but nothing was happening. And I pretty much hit a wall of this isn't for me. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. I was so enthusiastic. Maybe I had beginner's luck. Maybe this was just good for a short run. And I had all these self-doubts and all this stuff just started creeping up that it's almost like Anne knew this was coming. Because by the time I spoke to her, she was like, yep, here we are, and I think now having my own coaches and watching them go through this, that it is so extremely common about that same point to have that moment. And so what I wanted to share with you guys was really what happened during those 2 months and how that turned around for me and became what now is a really thriving business and a lot of amazing coaches that I love and that are totally my tribe. Right? Because that was another thing that was going on my first 3 months. I was like reaching out to all these people, but I wasn't really thinking about who I was reaching out to. I wasn't really calibrating my reach outs. I wasn't really thinking about the quality of my reach outs. I was thinking about the quantity of my reach outs, right? And I got stuck in this chasing numbers situation, which I think happens a lot, especially to new coaches. You're chasing the Success Club points, chasing the rank, chasing the money, chasing whatever, because you think it's an appropriate goal for you, right? You imagine that, well, if this person's going for this rank and that person's doing that, then maybe I should also follow in suit. So a couple of things I want to talk about are, first of all, the 4 things I did during those 2 months that even though I wasn't seeing my business go the way I wanted it to go, I did these 4 things religiously. And I didn't stop doing these 4 things. Come rain, shine, hail, like monsoon, whatever happened, these 4 things were going to happen in my day. Okay, so the first one was I curse. I don't know if anybody here has a problem with cursing, but like I have a foul mouth when it comes to expressing myself. So I'm sorry in advance. I won't say the full thing, but dropping the F's. Okay, giving no F's, right? So I hit a wall in my business where I was like, I don't care. I don't care if I never hit another Success Club point. I don't care if I look weird when I reach out to someone. I don't care if they think I'm dumb. I don't care if someone's going to judge me for this. I don't care. I literally hit a wall of I'm just not going to care, because the more I cared about hitting a number, or the more I cared about how I was going to be perceived, the less open I was, the less creative I was, the less curious I was about people, because I was closing myself in with all of my I care about everything, right? So I dropped the F's, as I say it, because I was like, I can't give an F about any of this. I have to let it go. I have to let go of people's perception of me. I have to let go of these goals that the company puts for us. I have to let them go. So after those 2 months, I just started living in a place of releasing my attachment to these things and not hyper-focusing on them, right? That was the first thing. The second thing I did was staying with the vitals and with my posting. There was not a day that went by that I didn't do all 4 vital behaviors. Not one day. Also not a day that went by that I didn't post about me doing the 4 vital behaviors or post about my life. Not one day. Even when I felt like crap. Even when I was like super depressed and was like, my business is going nowhere. I'm a horrible person. Like, this is the wrong career for me. I still showed up and I still posted because I believed that consistency mattered. And I believed in my heart in a team that would be as consistent as I was. And so I wanted that. I wanted to be an example of that. So I didn't stop those things ever. I tried new systems. That's the third thing. When you come into a business and you're learning how to develop systems, not everything is going to stick. Not everything is going to work. So I repeatedly tried new systems. If I was trying something and it wasn't working, I stopped doing that thing and I tried something else. If I tried that thing and it wasn't working, I stopped doing that thing and I tried something else. And I obsessively hunted for the systems that worked for me. I listened to marketing podcasts. I listened to sales podcasts. I listened to every podcast, Amy Porterfield, what's her name? Denise Duffield, everyone, MWF Motivation, any expertise in any area that had to do with business, I was listening to it because I realized that I was lacking knowledge. I was lacking basic know-how on how to do things like social media marketing and things that are really kind of paramount to our business. And so I hunted for systems that worked for me and for information that would teach me how to do the things that I didn't know. Right? And the fourth thing, and perhaps the most important thing that I did those 2 months, was I decided that I would figure it out. I decided that I was going to figure it out regardless. No matter how long it took, no matter what happened, no matter if I didn't hit another Success Club point for a year, I was going to figure it out, like, because I was committed to the business, and that was my mindset. So I gave myself the credit, I gave myself the permission to figure it out on my timeline without the pressure of a number or a goal or people, or just, I'll figure it out. One way or another, this is going to get resolved, right? So those were the 4 things that I, thinking back now, really, really stuck to. And I mentioned the whole quality versus quantity, and something that happened in those 2 months also was I started thinking about, I lost 3 coaches within my first couple months of being a coach. Okay, so I had 2 cancellations and I had 1 inactivity. I was really striving for a rank and just dropping back and dropping back. And I had a breakthrough when one of my coaches texted me to tell me she was going to cancel, and I didn't feel reactive at all. I said, I hear you. Is there anything I can do for you? I love you. I support your decision. Wherever you want to go, we're still cool, right? And I felt such peace about letting her go. And I realized she wasn't my tribe. She just wasn't the type of coach that I was going to thrive with, and that it was okay to let her go. And that no matter what, there would be other coaches that were better matched for me. And in having that peaceful resolution, she then left me a great review on my page. Our friendship is stronger than ever. And 5 coaches came into my business right after that. Okay, so just to give you a little idea of what releasing attachment can do for you when you really don't get attached to things that aren't working for you, right? So that moment really kind of turned my mind around and started me thinking about, who do I really want to work with? Who do I really want to spend quality time with on team calls and training and all this time that we spend with each other? Who is that person, right? So my relationships became more about quality and less about quantity. Not so much about the numbers, but about the people, the actual people that I was reaching out to, right? So the second part of this are some questions that I want to offer you to think about, and I'm going to tie them into how they played into my life and gave me more guidance during that slump in my business. The first one is, what is your key priority in this business? That was really, really, really important for me to identify. Because what I identified for me was that my key priority was impact. My key priority was impact. What I really wanted out of this business was to impact as many people's lives as possible in a way that would be lasting. So when I identified that as being my key priority, everything else that I started doing made sense. And everything else the way that I was doing everything I was doing changed as a result of getting clarity about my key priority. So for my one suggestion would be to really get clear about what's your priority in this business. What is your soul mission, the one thing that you really want to accomplish in this business? And let that influence the rest of your work with the following questions. The question to follow after that, identifying a key priority, is, if money or rank did not matter in this business, what would you spend your time doing? What business activity would you spend your time doing if money and rank didn't matter? That was a really important question for me, because what I realized is that I would probably spend a lot of my time, number one, creating content that was really powerful. I love live video, and I love really raw, vulnerable posts. And I would probably spend my time making a bunch of friends on the internet, because I love friends. So those 2 things were where I would spend a lot of my time. And wouldn't you know that when I focused my business around those 2 things, it was boom, success, right? Because those were the things that mattered to me. quality content and quality relationships. That mattered to me. That was fun for me, right? So when I focused my business around that, my energy was there. And as a result of my energy being there, people then felt like they knew me and wanted to work with me, right? So the other question, kind of to follow up with that. So money and rank didn't matter. What would you focus on in this business? And then in the content category of that, what content would you say is unique to you? What do people come to you for? What do you find that people are attracted to you for? For me, it's definitely not nutrition, because I'm not that person. I'm learning that hardcore. I'm a motivator and a mindset person. So people come to me for training. They come to me for mindset stuff. That's what people are drawn to me for. So my content, a lot of the time, focuses around this strength. And that's what draws my tribe in, because they're typically people who want to learn how to master their mindset, right? So whatever is unique to you, whatever the thing is that people are attracted to you for, that is a gift of yours to start making your content in relationship to that thing. Okay. And the last question I want you guys to ask yourself, and this has to be like an instinctual hit, right? Like no thinking about this one. This one is like question, answer. Okay. What is holding you back from a thriving business? Okay. And I'm going to answer that question for me. What was holding me back was being responsible for people. Yeah. I didn't want to be responsible for people. I didn't think I was capable of mentoring a ton of coaches or being there for my challengers. I was terrified of that responsibility. And as a result of being afraid of that, I was actively resisting growing a team or having challengers because I was afraid I wouldn't know what to do with them. Right? So you have to get really honest with yourself about why you don't have the kind of business that you want. It's an awkward question to ask yourself, because why wouldn't I want to be really successful, right? But just like getting invited to do this team call, I wanted it, I put it on my goals, but it scared the pants off of me because it was another level in my business. And as a result of that, it was like, wait a minute, do I really want to do this? I'm like sweating right now. Because that's how invested I am in making this a reality. So just know that that's going to happen to you guys. When you're really invested, it's going to scare the pants off of you. You're going to be so nervous to be as big as you want to be, but that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. You run towards the sweatiness and the splotchiness, as Anne calls it. That's a positive thing. So I want to put into perspective all the questions that I shared with you guys and how it worked for me so that you can plug in that formula for you. So I asked myself, what is my key priority? My key priority was impact. So then I asked myself, how do I make greater impact? How does greater impact happen? And then I realized it was by giving more value, more free value that people could have access to when they needed it. Right? So then I thought to myself, okay, well, how do I give value? How do I give more free value that is true to me, that is original to me, that is unique to me? And that became content and heartfelt conversations. Those were my two answers. I'm a content generating machine, and I love generating quality content. And I love having heartfelt conversations where people are crying. That sounds very weird, but it's true. I love to be in a conversation where someone is crying, where someone is just unraveling themselves in the conversation, because to me, that's real. That is such a beautiful moment of human experience. So in those two things, in my content and in my heartfelt conversations, is where I found that I would thrive. So if I was giving more value, then that meant that I was giving content, quality content, and I was having those kinds of conversations. The result of me focusing on the things that mattered to me were more challengers and a much bigger team rapidly, right? So use that same formula for you in whatever your key priority is. So what is my key priority, okay? How do I increase the effect of my key priority? And then how do I create content and relationships around my key priority, specific to who you are as a person, right? Because I think in this business, there are so many shiny things, and the shiny things are great and they're exciting, but they don't matter. Like they just don't matter. They don't matter if your heart's not in the game. They don't matter if you're not doing it for the right reasons. They don't matter. The shiny things are just nice little bonuses sprinkled on top of this business. But the beautiful part of this business is the grind. The beautiful part of this business is how it's forcing you to step out of your comfort zone and develop as a person, as a business owner. The beautiful part of this business is how you challenge other people to do that too, right? That's the beauty in the business. The grind is really the beauty in the business. And when I realized that in those 2 months, and I embraced it, I embraced the grind, I embraced the struggle, I embraced the fact that I was going to have to grow the shit out of me and enjoy it. Otherwise, this was going to go nowhere. Everything changed. And suddenly I wasn't so busy doing a bunch of stuff. I was much more effective in shorter time periods because I had clarity on what was important to me, which was my heartfelt conversations and my quality content, right? But unless you identify what really matters to you and why you're in the business, you're going to waste a ton of time, right? So get very clear on the I would narrow it down to 2 main things that matter to you the most in this business and focus your time around those. Invitations come as a natural extension of heartfelt conversations. If you're not having heartfelt conversations, an invitation is going to feel hella awkward. That is just like the truth. But if you're having real conversations with people, by the time you have something to invite them to, they're going to be like, you know what? This girl has been so legit. This person has been so real, raw, available to me. I just want to say yes because I want to know more about them. I want to know more about what they do, right? So focus on the 2 things that matter to you. Identify those things. Identify the priority, and then underneath the priority, what are the two activities connected to that priority that will help you get the most out of this business, and focus your time there. For me, that was a huge light bulb moment in my business. And I feel like now I've organized myself in a way that works for me because I was constantly looking for those systems. I stayed very clear on my key priority. And the more that I've focused on building value in my relationships, the more success I've had with people coming to me now, emailing me, messaging me, hey, I want to start a program. Hey, I want to start a challenge group. Hey, because they see the value. I give them so much of that. And it's the kind of value that impacts, that really changes people's lives. So that's really all the content I had to share. Those 4 things I did daily, and then those questions that I asked myself to put myself in a really difficult position. But that's it. I mean, that's really, there's so much to that story, but that really sums it up as concisely as possible for, especially if you're in that rut and you don't know where to go there. Go to those questions for sure.
I love it. That was awesome. I have like 3 pages of notes, but I have a couple questions, and I have like a statement kind of piggybacking what you just said. And you guys, everybody, like, I don't care who you are, like every one of you on this team, you're going to get in a rut. You're going to get in a place in your business where you're like, you second guess yourself. Like, am I really like, should I be a coach? Like, I've had it. I've been doing this for 5 years, and you know, I probably have it. It comes and goes. So like, I love that now we can use this call as like, or these questions, and like, you can go back to it when you are in that slump, and know that just because you're in that slump doesn't mean that you need to quit. Doesn't mean that this isn't for you, because like I have found that when I am in a slump, it means something greater is coming. It means I need to work through something to get to the other side of what, like the greatness on the other side of that, the crap you're in right now. And sometimes it's longer for some people. Sometimes it's a day. So like, I love that. I know, and Shakti could probably talk about a ton of stuff to just go along with that. But just know that if you get in a slump, like reach up to your upline and let them know, or post in our team pages and let them know, like, guys, like this is what's going on and I feel like I need to quit. But don't, because right, like it's almost like that picture of that gold. Have you guys seen that picture of that, like, was it like the gold mine or whatever? Like the miners, they're like in the whole, like, what is like the gold mine, and they're like one quits and they're like so close to the gold or whatever, and the other ones keep going and they hit the thing. That's kind of like what it's like when you hit a part in your business where you're like, this sucks, this is hard, nobody's saying yes, everybody's saying no, like my income's dropping, my rank's dropping, like I'm not hitting Success Club, like all this stuff, like that means you're like on the breaking point of getting there. You just have to keep doing these 4 things that she talked about and you'll like get through the breakthrough. We could probably do a whole call on that.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, we probably could. Okay, so I have a couple questions, and then we can open it up for if anybody else has questions for Shakti for a little bit, and then because I know it's 10 o'clock there. I don't know how late it is for you guys, wherever you are, but okay, so my first one was when you were talking about releasing the attachment to things. Do you want to give like an example of like some steps or ways to maybe do that? I know, I'm sure people were thinking like, well, how do I release attachment to Success Club or to rank or to the shiny things, you know?
I really wish I had something very clear cut to offer you, but my let go came out of sheer disappointment and discouragement. I was so discouraged that I just stopped caring. And I know we've all probably experienced that in some part of our life, not necessarily with the business, but with other things like a relationship or something where you're just like, you know what, I'm over it. Like when I had that, that's pretty much what happened to me. And what I think the mindset shift was, I stopped looking at this business as Success Club points. And I started looking at this business like a business. This isn't just Success Club points. It's a business that requires my attention and requires me to tailor it to who I am as a person. So I got away from those sort of these business goals that are like kind of worked into the business to help us guide ourselves. And I focused on the actual business itself. And when I did that, it all followed, you know? Because the point is not Success Club. The point is that you learn how to work an effective business. So that's what I focused on. So I guess that's what I would offer. Focus on the actual business.
Right. Which would be like your 4 vital behaviors or like you talked about. And I can totally like piggyback that with saying if you focus on your 4 vital behaviors, the Success Club points will come, the rank will come, the income will come, the yeses will come, the people will come. But you have to do that consistently. You can't do that consistently for a month and then not do anything for 2 weeks and be like, well, you said, you know, like it's consistently over time, the small things will compound. So sometimes it takes people longer. Sometimes it, like you said, you jumped in your first 3 like months, you had awesome success. Like sometimes it takes people longer to build that initial success, but if you do it consistently, it will come. And my last question was, I don't really know what I had a question for this for.
Scribble.
Yeah, I don't know what I meant by this question. So I don't have that question because I don't know how to go with that one. I guess, could you give any more examples on like, because I was like scribbling down like what my key priority was and like those kind of things. Like, do you want to give any like other examples of like, and I could give examples too of like just what other key priorities would look like. And I can do that too. But if you have any that you think of, that way I think it's easier to like have a couple that people can be like, oh, maybe that's one.
Similar in vein, like influence is one of them, right? Serving, helping. Anne has a really good mission, trajectory changing, right? Like that's part of Anne's personal mission. She wants to change the trajectory of people's lives, right? So of course, all of these are about serving the greater community, but the word itself is different, right? And so when I say impact, I mean like Tony Robbins. That's like when I grow up, I want to be him and Oprah, okay? Like I want to be them. So that's why impact is my word. You see what I'm saying? Whereas if like Gandhi was who I wanted to be when I grew up, maybe serving would be the word that I would use, right? So all of these people are important and significant, but the way that they went around their work was different. And so that's what I mean. You have to find the word that vibes with who you are as a person and with why you came to this business. Right. So
love that. That's a good way to explain it.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Does anyone have any questions?
Are you all muted still?
Yeah, everybody's muted. So if you try and talk, we can. So you have
or like wave, so like we can know that you want to talk.
Raise your hand. Nobody has any questions? Are you kidding? I wish I had like 20 questions for you. I could just pick your brain.
I wanted to give an example of when you said you're close to breaking through and you're not quite there. I heard a coach video not too long ago, and she gave this analogy, and it was beautiful. And in case no one has seen it, I want to offer it to you guys. When you get into this business, you start to set goals for yourself. And if you imagine having a rubber band and you stretch the rubber band to a distance, right? That's your goal, right? Like whatever goal, rank goal, income goal, business goal you have is out here. And back here, you're holding the other end of the rubber band, which is where you are. So when you feel the distance between where you want to go and where you are, there's discomfort naturally. There's an amount of tension between those two places. And what ends up happening when you say, well, maybe this business is for me, I want to quit, and you let go of the rubber band, right? Because you want to release the tension. You will do anything to feel less tension between where you are and where you want to be. But what ends up happening is that you go back to where you were, you momentarily feel better because the tension has been released, but then the discontent settles in again much later. And it creates the desire for you to want to push again, right? So the solution then is to continue to push and move closer, not let go of the rubber band, but move yourself closer to the end goal so that the tension releases. Because whether you make it to your goal or you let go of the goal, the tension will be released. The difference is when you just let go of the goal, it's momentary and the discontent returns. When you match your goal, you release it and you've broken through a barrier and you're ready to pull again, right? So I love that analogy. When I heard that, I was like, it was like a light bulb. I got it. I got why people quit. And I was like, okay, well, instead of doing that, I'm just going to go here. Like, right.
I love that analogy. I haven't heard that one. I don't think.
Yeah, I can't remember her name. I wish I could, but I saw her talk about this and I was like, this is freaking genius.
Yeah. I know Jeff Goetz always says too, like, whenever you set a goal, and this is like true even for just starting as a coach, because like you're putting it out there that you're doing this thing. You guys, if you sit back and think about when you first joined as a coach, or when you like decided I'm going to be diamond, or I'm going to do this, if you sit back and think about, your life probably went chaotic after you put that out there into the universe. You know, it probably did. You probably had, time issues all of a sudden. Like you had, like work was crazy. You didn't have all of a sudden, like finances went all over the place, or your kids were like, got sick. You got sick. Your car broke down. You lost your job. Like all these things probably happened as soon as you like joined as a coach, or as soon as you put whatever goal out there that you wanted to achieve. And that's when people quit too, because they say, well, all these negative things are happening. This must not be for me. Or I can't, like coaching has to go on the back burner because I have to deal with all these other things. When in reality, just like Shakti said, like that's just letting go of the rubber band instead of pushing through those things to get past all that stuff. So it's life. It's life. Life is never going to be perfect, and we're all going to have to deal with shit.
And it's manifestation. I mean, when you're bold enough to ask for something, when you're bold enough to pray for something, when you're bold enough to say, I claim my divine right, and I say that this thing will come to pass, you're setting a lot of things in order to make that happen for you, right? And so you will be tested along the way. Like, how much do you want this, right? And for someone who, like myself, I excelled at school and I always did really well at stuff. And when I didn't do well, I just quit because I was like, not for me, right? And I got used to the habit of doing that. That was awful for me because it didn't train me to work harder. And I made a video very early on in coaching where I talked about how persistence beats talent, right? Every time. I don't care how talented you are. The person that shows up the most gets the most out of life, period, right? It's not the most talented person. It's the most consistent person, always.
And I love that. And that can be so, like, that's our business, you guys. If you show up every day and do your 4 vitals and just show up on your social media and share your journey every day, you will be more successful than the personal trainer who has a 6-pack abs who shows up once a week. Like,
yep.
I can promise you that. So, like, I think we get worried that we don't have the talent, or we don't have the education, or we don't have the body, or we don't have whatever. But if you show up every day for yourself and for your business and just share your journey, it sounds so simple. It's stupid. You know, like, your business will eventually grow. And I'm not going to say it's going to grow overnight. And I'm not even going to say that, like, you'll be successful after a year. But after 5 years, after 10 years, like, it sounds like a long time, but people sit in corporate jobs for 40 years before they finally, like, they still don't even see success half the time. And they sit there, you know, until they hit retirement. So 10 years really is hardly anything compared to sitting in a desk job for 40 years.
And really share your story, you guys. Don't just share the superficial stuff. Share your story. Share where it hurts. Honestly, share where you are struggling, share where you are not sure, share that stuff, because everybody feels that way. And they're just waiting for one person to share it and for them to be like, oh my God, I totally feel that girl. Like, I totally hear her. And just by you doing that, it makes them trust you because you're being so raw and so vulnerable, right? It builds that no trust like this when you share something like that. So really share it. Share the details that you would be like editing your post. Like, I'm not going to write that. Share that stuff. That's the stuff that matters because you matter. Your story matters. All of your story matters. Not just the highlight reel. Your story matters. And there are other people out there that have that story that need to hear yours. It's that simple.
Does anyone have any questions? I have, like, a little homework tasks for everybody if no one has any questions. Nobody wants to ask any questions. Oh, remember, you're muted if you do. Nobody? Okay, well, if you guys think of questions, you can post them in the group or something. Okay, so my homework assignment for you guys is tomorrow is Thursday, so Throwback Thursday. So I really want you guys to think about that one story, since we're kind of talking, like, besides doing everything else she said, like answering the questions, that kind of stuff, do that stuff. But really, to get out there is think about that story that hurts, that one story, and do a Throwback Thursday to that time and share a part of that story. It's probably going to feel really awkward. It's going to be scary. It might even make you want to throw up a little bit, but you guys will be very surprised with how much awesome feedback you'll have, and it will open a whole different, like, door to conversations and just to people that you didn't even know really were following you. So that's kind of my homework assignment, on top of the, like, really asking yourself these questions that she talked about tonight.
And tag me on them. Tag me on your stories so I can read your stories and I can hold space for you and support you. I would love to do that.
Tomorrow too, I'll post in the Freedom Tribe group. I've been posting, like, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I've been doing like a Throwback Thursday, like, post to have people post under, like, your link. So post your link of your page underneath after you have, so we all can go and like and support you too. I think that's a good way to get it moving too. So if nobody has any questions, those are your assignments. I can't wait to get this recording up and sent to everybody. Shakti, thank you so much. I'm sure this will not be the last time I ask you to jump on a team call, so get ready for it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
And everybody, thank you for getting on, and I'll talk to you guys later.